on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now,
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back with another market watch, and as usual, I'm going to preface this with I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, do your own investigation into cards. I'm just some dude on the internet talking about shiny cardboard, and I'm just offering some non-specialist advice. Second thing I'm going to preface is the European WCQ has only just finished. I say only just, not long ago, by the way, depending on when you're watching this. I'm recording this on the day that the championship finished, and Sun Avalon Rika just took it by storm. So I thought I'd start off today's market watch with just looking at some of the cards. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because we are going to see a little bit of a lull in terms of like demand, just because there's not a couple of sets due to be released until sometime in July, end of July basically. So we've got a few weeks with no new releases, and we've got the NAWCQ I believe next weekend, so there's going to be a bit of a lull and a little bit of anticipation going into the the latter stages of the current format. So without that out of the way, let's have a look at some cards, ladies and gents. And the first one I wanted to look at is obviously Sunset Genius Loci. Yeah, so it is a little bit inexpensive at the moment. It's £6. Believe it or not, this one lone vanilla card just can produce a whole board of just interaction, which is absolutely crazy. It is the catalyst to quite a few of the combos that actually exist within Rika Sun Avalon, and it's looking pretty spicy, to be honest. £6. I mean, if you've got this card, this is probably, if you're not planning to play the deck, this is probably the peak time to shift this. And I am sitting on a Sun Avalon core, and I am actually considering whether or not I want to just flip it, mainly because I can't see myself playing a deck in the future. I've not long recently just sold my Rika core, and it's probably at its high point, just because it's in a spotlight at the moment. And the European WCQ just happened. It topped. Everybody's got eyes on a deck. There's going to be obviously people out there that just want to play the deck now because they've just seen what it can do, and it's probably the high time to sell it. Along with this card, which is Therion King Regulus. Now this is another one that's a little bit weird. It has kind of been a little bit volatile of late, mainly because of obviously the plant deck, quote unquote, but its price has been up and down. So like, we're looking at it now, it's about £30, which is probably the lowest that it's been, and this is kind of like where it bottoms out at, to be honest. It has crept up a lot higher than that, but again, when this card drifts out of a format, the price tends to go down, and that's kind of like what's happened. But now with Rika Sun Avalon topping, it's probably just put itself back up at the top of everybody's like wish list. And not to mention that it's good in other decks, most notably any decks that has kind of like machine. So Therion ABC especially, as well as even Sky Striker, for example. So definitely a very strong card, to say the least, ladies and gents. Next, looking towards the future, the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere Mode. Now, the reason I'm looking at this is because, again, there's only really one trap deck in the format, and Konami likes to push at least one trap strategy. This card, just like the synergy between this and trap decks is just fantastic. It's effectively a board breaker, and with the prevalence of just like some heavy combo decks at the moment, it's always good to kind of like keep an eye on cards like this, along with cards like Lava Golem, for example. Having a card that can just get rid of 3 monsters without your opponent being able to react to it is just super crucial. So yes, especially with the previous deck that I just talked about in Rika Sun Avalon, they just put up a whole field. So this can just actually be a game leveler. So looking at its price, probably about £10. It's not as expensive as it would be, but the printings are few and far between. So if you do have this card and you're thinking about like shifting it, now could be a potential time to shift it. But most notably, if you want to pick this card up, it's a great time to pick it up, just because it's off the radar. The next card I wanted to talk about, Nibiru. Again, as you can see, the price has started to fall on this card. Nibiru is another weird one, which it comes in phases basically. So when this card is not being played around, that's when it's at its most prominent, and when it is being played around, that's when it's just at its weakest, and that's probably the best time to start picking that card up. And I feel like now is that time, with the introduction of these super heavy negate boards being a thing again. It's probably high tide that we kind of like bring Nibiru back and see how we can impact it. And at the moment, for some of the prints, which is specifically the 2022 Tinafero's Gods print, you've got it at like £4, £5. So this is actually a steal at the moment. I'm not even gonna lie, ladies and gents. Nibiru used to be like a $10, $15, $20 card. Now it's pound card. So if you do have access to this card and you are sitting on a couple of extra copies, definitely pick some up. I actually picked up a couple of ultras for £10. I picked up 2 for £10. So it's a nice time to pick this card up, and that was recently, to be honest. So yeah. Another card that you should consider buying right now, ladies and gents, and this is a steal at the moment. Forbidden Droplets. Obviously it's had a reprint. It probably will have another reprint in the near future, but I'm talking about the 2022 Tinafero Gods reprint. It's a nice rarity. I like prismatic secret rares. They hark on like resemble some of the secret rares that are out there, but this card in of itself is just a crazy board breaker. And when a Rise Heart does come out the format, ladies and gents, you're going to see a resurgence of droplets. A Rise Heart is gatekeeping a lot of the cards that would potentially see play but just can't, because you just haven't got access to the graveyard. So any kind of card that requires a card to go to the graveyard, know that they're going to come up against a Rise Heart and effectively just turn that card off. So i.e. Silent Mining, for example. So having this card just ready to go when the format changes somewhat is just a no-brainer in my opinion. I am sitting on 3. I could potentially just pick up another couple just because I feel like this card is just going to shoot up in price. So definitely keep an eye on Forbidden Droplets, ladies and gents. And if you do have your copies, I would say sit on them for the moment, just because I feel like this is definitely going to explode in price once the format changes somewhat. Again, another card that's slowly creeping up in price, Diviner of the Heralds. It was down to about £6 at some point. Let's have a look at the graph. Doesn't really show it here, but that's only going for the last month or so. But this card was actually like £6. It shot up to about £9 now, and I can only see this going up. It's only got 2 printings, this and its original rare. So sorry, original secret rare. So definitely a card worth thinking about. If you haven't got some already, now's the time to just grab some before they start to kind of creep up in price. Also, it's a nice card to sit on, because you know that Divine is going to hold value, and any kind of rare secret rare copy that you've got is always going to be worth something. So yeah, definitely a card to watch out for. Another card, and this is with the prevalence of Dragon Link kind of creeping back into the format, ladies and gents. Borrowload Savage Dragon. Now I believe it might have even been like 2 weeks ago. This card was £10, and it's already £16.50. So if you are planning to pick this card up, ladies and gents, definitely think about getting this card sooner rather than later. And if you are sitting on copies of this card, I'd probably just consider when you're going to flip it, because I do feel like this card's going to creep up in price. Again, the further away we get from the actual reprint, which was Battles of Legends Crystal Revenge, I feel like the more expensive this card is going to become. And it's a card that is just synonymous with the format. At some point or at some stage in the format, like Dragon Link just becomes a deck that people want to play, just because it's got a huge fan following, and Borrowload Savage Dragon is definitely a mainstay in the deck, along with Striker Dragon, ladies and gents. Now this is specifically the prismatic secret rare from the 2020 Tin of Lost Memories. So this card is not as expensive as you would think, but it's probably one of the nicest rarities. Yes, you do have the original ultra rare from Chaos Impact, I believe it was, but this card's nice at £3 for a prismatic secret rare, especially with how prevalent Dragon Link is. Grab your copies, ladies and gents, if you're looking to play the deck. If you're not, now's a great time to offload it, because this has crept up in price. This was like, I don't know, £1.50 previously, and it's already crept up to like £3. So I can only see this going up. So if you do have copies, like I said, now's your time to shift them. Another card, and I know I mentioned this before, and look, it's still very, very inexpensive. I actually picked up a couple of these cards at locals yesterday. Ready Fusion, ladies and gents. This to me is just another body. It can be a tuner, it can be a non-tuner, it can be any level of monster that you literally need from 1 to 6. So I feel like this card is just super useful. It's an extender, it lowers your life points, so any strategy that requires your life points to be lower than your opponent, i.e. Gold Pride or even Dinomorphia, for example, it's just another body, ladies and gents. So very, very powerful card, very underrated, and as I like to say on our market watches, it's cheap as chips. So look, I'm seeing copies here for less than £1, and I'll be honest, if you haven't got any copies of this card, go out and grab some. not when they're 50p, ladies and gents. Like, it's just stupid not to. It's its only reprint. It's 50p. Like, it's not being used at the moment, but there's gonna be a time where you're gonna see this card just explode onto the scene, and you're gonna wish that you had your copies. Another card that I've been watching, ladies and gents, Ice Jade Ran Agerine. Now, this card is crazy, so let's read this effect real quick. So, ignoring what it becomes on the field, the most prevalent effect is you can discard one other Ice Jade card or one water monster, special summon this card from your hand, then you can special summon one Ice Jade token, Aqua, level 3, 0 attack, 0 defense. While the token is in the monster zone, the player who summoned it cannot special summon from the extra except water monsters. But if you notice, ladies and gents, this card is a tuner monster and a level 7 at that, which is crazy. So this card can just be a 1-card Chen Ying. It can be a 1-card Ice Jade Gamia. It's crazy, and at the moment it's £2. I'm gonna have to I might have to put a stock on this one myself, ladies and gents. So this card is crazy. So this is card worth picking up, not necessarily for now, but if there's any kind of like water support down the line, and this is kind of like where I'm going with this market watch, ladies and gents. I'm just keeping an eye on the future and what potentially could be coming up down the line. This card is a crazy extender. 1-card Synchro 10. It's 1-card Link 2, can go straight into any of the Charmers, the water Charmer specifically. So definitely a card worth picking up, ladies and gents. Definitely a card worth picking up. A nice extender. If Mermails get support, this card is gonna blow up. It's gonna go through the roof because Mermails have got a long and strong following. So definitely a card worth investing into, or just if you're trading for any card, just asking for it for a throw-in, for example. So very, very good card. Next, I think I spoke about this card before, and I wanted to just bring it up again because look at the graph. This card is just going to the moon and beyond. Sky Striker Azalea. I believe it was short printed in the Battle of Legends Monstrous Revenge. So definitely a card worth keeping an eye on. If you are planning to play Sky Strikers, pick this up. And if you're not planning to play Sky Strikers, pick this up because as I mentioned previously, it is a generic card. It can be an engine in of itself if you've got extra deck space. Pops a card. So definitely a card worth thinking about. Also, it's a Sky Striker card. Like, it's a secret rare print. Sky Strikers have always been heavily supported by Konami, so I can't see this card not being in the meta in some way, shape or form. So definitely think about getting this card, whether you're trading for it, whether you're buying for it. Just grab a hold of this, ladies and gents, just with an eye on the future, basically. Next, I wanted to talk about 2 cards. Now, I normally kind of look at the penny stonks in this last segment of the video, ladies and gents, but I went to locals yesterday and I managed to go undefeated. I didn't top just because my tiebreakers were crazy, which was obviously out of my control. But nevertheless, the shop that I went to decided to just give me a speed duel tournament pack, and I actually pulled a card out of it, which I'm going to talk about next. But some of these speed duel ultras are mad expensive. I didn't realize, and I believe, or from what I'm understanding, it's because GOAT format, Edison format, those are formats that like to play these cards, and these are some of the higher rarities for those specific cards. So King of the Skull Servants, I didn't realize there's not even any listings on Card Market, but look, £34. Like, it spiked crazy. It was £81 earlier on this month. This is just absolutely blown my mind. I didn't realize the market for some of these old school cards, especially in the higher rarities, is just off the charts, ladies and gents. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. And when I do go back to that locals, I'm specifically going to ask for a couple of those speed duel tournament packs because the ultras are crazy. Because this is the card that I actually got yesterday. If I actually had it to hand, I would show you guys. But Old Vindictive Magician. Now, when I checked on eBay, it was double this price. Obviously, Card Market's a little bit fairer. It's a little bit more realistic. You're looking at £16-17. But that's just for an ultra, ladies and gents. And most of the time, you do get an ultra out the speed duel packs. It's not necessarily a decent one, but some of the ones that I see in play in like Edison, Hat format, for example, GOAT format, those cards are stonks. So definitely something to keep an eye out, ladies and gents. If your locals have some of those packs and they're just getting rid of them, for example, or you've got the opportunity to buy some, because I'll be honest, speed duels is not something that's prevalent where I'm from in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! But I know in some sectors, some cities, speed duels is definitely a thing. Get your speed duel packs, ladies and gents, and get these cards out of them and get them somewhere because they are absolute stonks. But anyway, Is there any cars that you feel like I should be speaking about? Any cars that I think I've missed? Again, if you so, get at me in that comment section below. And we find ourselves at the end of another video. If you did like this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff. And I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.